Supabase is a very powerful database, PostgreSQL database. So if you are building your own SaaS, you will see that Supabase is used because it's very easy to use. You don't have to worry about scaling it. It's very fast. So once you go here, you don't have any account, you can create this account. So you can do login with GitHub, or you can sign up with email and password. So I already have account, so I will just log in with my credentials. And now you can see once logged in, we don't have anything here. So let's create a new project. Here I can say my project. And here I will create generate password. You can remember, or you don't need actually. For our application, we don't use this. So in this region, you should select your region which is nearest to all your users. So if you are building SaaS application from where your users are accessing your application, if it's USA, then you should select USA region which is nearest to all users. So that will make sure your API response will come faster. So I am in India, so I will select this Mumbai location and click on create new. Now this will create the required setup for our Supabase. You can see it has created the API key. So we need this API key. So let's copy this. So let's close all of this. And we need to, so whenever you are storing any API key or private information, you need to store that in .env file. So let's add this. This is anonymous public key. So _public key equal to this. And we also need project URL. _project URL. So make sure you start your variable with _, then only it will work as we are using 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. So you don't need any extra library or npm package to read those environment variables. So once you start your variable name with _, you can easily access this. So I can go to, let's create a new file, supabase.js, and here we can use that. So you can see the project is created. Now you can go to API docs, and here you can see how to create the project. So I can just copy this text and paste it here. So you can see it needs project URL, Supabase URL, so which we created. So you can keep it here itself if you want. It's not private information, but I like to keep it separate. So I will use import.meta.env.name of the variable. So this is how you access environment variable in 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Now we also need the Supabase key, so which is always anonymous key. So here, if you see project settings, API, so this anonymous public key which we want to copy. So this which we have already copied. So let's access this. So it will be import.meta.env. Now we can export this Supabase variable. Export default Supabase. So now this Supabase is available. We can use this to insert, update, or interact with our database. So before interacting, we need to create tables. So you can go to this table editor. Now click on create table. Here we can create a new table with name of books. So what different things we have? If I go to final application, we need book name, author, publisher, ISBN. Image will add later. So we'll first integrate all of this, and later we'll see how to integrate image or upload image to Supabase, and then we'll see how to add it in the databases. So name, author, publisher, ISBN. So here you need to enable row level security. This is good for security reasons. So only authorized person will be able to access your application data. So now let's click on add. Here I can give name of text. Type will be text. Text, I don't want book name to be empty. So I will uncheck this. Here I can say name author. Author will be again text type. So text is any character length you can use. So 1000, 2000 character data you can enter if type is text. So in unlimited number of characters you can use. So now author also I don't want null. Publisher. This will also be text. Not nullable. ISBN. Again text. This should not be nullable. And we can also add updated at. So if you see the final application, so we have these two. So let's say I am updating the cats in the hats. When I click on update, I will update this, click on update book. Now you can see that is displayed on the top. So the latest updated will be displayed on the top. So if you have a lot of books, it's good to identify if it's updated or not. So I will add updated at column here, just like created at. So the type will be times Z. So Z will be with time zone. And here click on this and we'll use default current time as the value. So this also should not be null. You always need updated at. When you create book, created at and updated at will be same as we are using now. So current timestamp as the default. Now this is all done. Click on save. So this will create a new table, books table with all those fields. Now you can see a table is added. Let's add one of the books so we can get that data in this place. So let's click on insert row. So later we'll add book section, but first we'll display it. So let's add some book. So let me copy the same here. Name will be this. Then author will be this. Publisher Random House. Then ISBN. This will be ISBN. That's it. So created app, updated app will be automatically added. ID will also be automatically generated. So just click on save. You can see now we have one record added. Now how to access this from the database? So for that, you can again go to API docs. I will open this in new tab. And here you can see under tables and views, here we have books. So every time you create a new table, you will see that listed here. And once you click, you will see all the APIs that you can use to access that information. So if I search for select, here you can see read rows. So how to read rows? You can see this is the code for reading. I will just click on copy and will not add this code. So whatever API call we have will not be adding directly in the component, which is not a good practice. So we'll create a new API folder, and inside it we can say books API.js. And here we can use that. So let's create a function. Get books. Let me zoom in. Get books equal to declare a sync function. So we can use await inside. So let me make this const. So this is how you access your data books table. From books table, we are reading everything. So if there is any error, we'll console.log that error and we'll throw that error. New error while getting list of books. Try again later. And we can return these books here. So if there is an error, then we'll display, otherwise we'll return them. So now we need to call this function to get the list of books. We will not be using use effect hook, or we are not using a Redux toolkit. So we'll be using React query, or it's known as TanStack Query. Now it's changed to TanStack Query. If I search, you can see this is the website. It's renamed from React Query to TanStack Query. So now click on read docs. This is good for it provides caching ability, so it automatically updates your data. So it provides for server side state. So in our application, if you go to navigation, you can see we declare a state here. So this is a client side state. So we know when it will update because we are changing it here. But what about server state? So whenever we get data from the backend, so this is data coming from the backend. So when it updates, you don't know when it will update. So if I want to get that data, you need to refresh that page. Then you will be able to see that. So this React query will automatically refetch, also caches the data. So just like Next.js provides caching, here also it provides caching. So you don't lose your data and you will immediately see the response. So you don't have to see the loading indicator long time. So to set up, you can go to installation section here. And we need to install this library. So let's copy this and I will install it here. So this will install that TanStack React query package. And to use it, you can just click on get started, quick start. So we need to use this. So our entire application, we need to wrap it inside it. So let me restart application and go to main. So our entire app, we can wrap it inside this query provider. So now this query client provider, we need to import it from TanStack Query. And this query client also we need to create. So let's copy this and paste it here. Let's import this query client also. So it's very important to know that this query client has to be outside. It should not be inside the component. So I can add this in an app also. And let me go back. I can add this, move this from here to here. Query client provider, and I will do this. So we have added our entire application, wrapped entire application inside this query client provider. You can do that. But this variable, whatever we are declaring here, it needs to be present or added outside. So this new keyword, you need to write it outside. It's very important because using this query client object, all the caching is handled. So if you add this variable inside app component, if your app component re-renders, you are creating a new cache. So you are losing your cached information. So you should not put this inside any component, put it outside. So it will not be changed whenever the component re-render. That is very important thing. Otherwise, your data will not be cached. So now we have added this. So we have all the functionality of TanStack Query available. So to get that any data, you can use query hook. So if you have worked with GraphQL, you might know that there is a query and mutation. So there is a use query hook and use mutation. So whenever you want to get something, you use query. And if you want to update, insert, delete, in that case, you use mutation. So you can see use query takes a lot of arguments and it returns a lot of things. So you should always check the documentation for information of and changes. So we are using version 5. Make sure you are using version 5. Version 4, there is bit difference. So make sure you are using the latest version. So you can go into package.json and see which version of TanStack Query you are using. So I'm using version. So now to use this inside the dashboard component, we can make use query. And here we need to pass an object. So you can see it needs query key. So you need a unique key using which React query or TanStack query caches the data. So here I can name it books, and you also need query function. So you need to define a function which will return a promise. So I can define a function and it will return hello. So it should return a promise. So to return a promise, you can just declare a function as async. Now this use query returns a couple of things, a lot of things actually. So you can get data is pending. So make sure you are using is pending. There is loading also. Is loading is in the previous version, React out of TanStack Query version 4. And now it's replaced by is pending. So to get the correct value of loading state, you should use is pending. And there is data and errors. So if there is any error. So let's print the data first and we'll see what we get. So if I open console, you can see you get the data hello. Here we have also warning. So while using navigation map method, we are not adding key. Key equal to, you should give unique key. So in our case, every title is unique. So we can use that title. So if I refresh now, we don't have that warning. You can see now data we get as hello. So initially data is undefined. So you need to know that initially the data error, it will always be undefined. And later, once you make that API call, you get that response, then you will get that updated data. So once the data gets updated, your component, wherever you are using use query, will re-render and you will get that updated data. Now here, always you need to add a function which will return a promise. And we already have API available, books API, which is declared as a thing. So it will return a promise. So now I can use this get books function here and I will import it. Now let's see what we get. If I refresh, you can see we are getting undefined. So we have data in our database. You can see this books table contains data. We are fetching from books table everything, but we are getting undefined. Because by default, when you enable row level security, so we have seen when we add new table, there is a check mark, enable row level security. So when it's enabled, you will not be able to access your data until you add your some policy. So click on add RLS policy, row level security policy, and click on create policy. Now here we can click on select. So I want to allow all users to access this. So for now, we don't have login. We'll add that later. So for now, I will add read access for all users. Make sure it's select. And now this looks good. Click on save policy. Now after adding this policy, now if I refresh this page, you can see we are still not getting that data. Why it's not getting? Because we are not importing this Supabase. So we need to also install this package. So whatever package we are using, so let's go back. So guides, so what package we are using? Supabase. This library we need to install first. So we forgot to install it. So this is the library using which we are able to make API call and get the data from the Supabase. Let me restart the application. Save this. Go back. Now you can see you get the data. Data contains an array and whatever book we have added. So initially data is undefined, then we get that data. So we are successfully able to get this data. Now we want to display it. So if you see how we are displaying on the dashboard, we are displaying in a grid. So for that, we can use AG grid, which is very easy to use. So just search for AG grid and React. And here you can click on quick start guide. So it's very much customizable. I like it to use it. It also provides pagination, default pagination. So first thing is we need to install this. Now once it's installed, we can copy this code, and wherever we want to use that inside the, I want to use it in the dashboard. So here on dashboard, we are displaying that grid. So I will import it at the top, and we can use this example to see if it correctly displays. Let me copy paste this for now. And to display that grid, we need to use this div content, paste it, save it. Now we have already imported this. This looks fine. So let's see how it displays. So if I refresh the page, we have some error. Let's see. Use state is not defined. So let's import use state. You can see now this correctly displays and we don't have any error. So you can see this is the grid. So we have very less number of columns. That's why it's not displaying properly. But if I increase these columns, this is data, and let's increase the columns. You can see now it displays correctly, and this is also responsive. So we don't have to worry about making it more responsive. So let's style it better. So we can see that on the top we have the books list, then we have search box, and then this table. So here inside the dashboard, let's wrap this in a div. Here we can add h1. So let's see what we added in the header. Header we added h1. Let's add it h2 here. And here we can say, what was the name? Books list. Let's copy the same classes. So we don't have to write it again. So we don't need this text primary. Text, let's make it to Excel. Font semi-bold, this is all shadow, padding bottom, say margin Y3. We already have added it. We don't need again. So if we check, now you can see this is this. Let's change text to 3XL to make it better. And let's remove that font bold. Yeah, this is better. Now let's also make this grid smaller. So for that, we can add one more div here. Here let's add class padding x2. Let's add 3. So you can see there is some padding and it displays nicely. Let's add some margin Y3 here. So there will be some margin. So you can see now it displays. Now we don't have pagination. So if you see here, there is a pagination. We can select. So to add that, you can just add pagination property. Pagination equal to true. Once you add this, you can see now you see this pagination. So we have 7 records. Let's add a couple of more records so we can see that pagination working. So you can see now we have a lot of records. So by default, all these are displayed on a single page, which I don't want. So what you can do is you can also provide pagination size, pagination page size. Page size, let's say I want to display 10 records on every page. So now if I refresh, you can see you correctly see only 10 records. For the next record, I can click on the next button and you see the list of next records. And you can see we have option here, drop down, so we can see all 15 records here. So we have specified 20, 15, so that is default. But if I want to see this, you can also customize this, but that is fine for now. So you can see if I select this 20, by default it's 20. So let's refresh. I have set it to 10 by default. So you correctly get 10 records. I can click on next and you see this next. So now let's display our books instead of this hard-coded data. So let me remove this raw data. And where is our books? So let me rename this data to books. So it's more clear that it's list of books. So instead of raw data, now we'll use books. And here, instead of here, we need to specify all the column names. So which are the different column names we have here? Let's go to table, books. So you need to use exact same column. So I need to display name, author, publisher, ISBN. Yes, that's name, author, publisher, ISBN. Let me remove this. And let's see how it is. You can see now it's getting this. We also need a couple of more columns. You can see assign to, edit, and delete. So let's add a few more. We can call it assigned to So it automatically capitalizes this. So if you go here, you can see it has capitalized this, separated by space. Assign to, then edit and delete. So now you can see there is a scroll bar, so the content is larger. We don't want large column width for edit and delete. So we can also specify max width, let's say 100 pixels. Let's copy this for this also. So now you can see they are fitted in the, we don't have any much scroll bar. So assign to, we need to add some text here. So for the value, so if you see there is a student text and with underline. So here I can add cell renderer. So for any custom content, you can add cell renderer. This is a function. And here you can define whatever you want to display. So I want to display student. So let's go back and refresh. Here cell renderer, it should be rar. You can see now student is displayed. Let's style this. So it should have underline. Now this is looking better. I can also add cursor pointer. So it's clickable. It indicates that it's clickable. Now edit and delete, we need to add some icons. You can see here edit and delete. So when you install ShadCN UI, you can see you immediately get Lucid React icons. So these are available by default in Lucid. So if I search for Lucid icons, you can see lucid.dev. So here you will see a list of icons. I want that edit icon, so I can search for edit. And you can use any of these icons. So let me copy this pencil, copy JSX, and wherever I want to render. So here again, I need to use cell renderer. And I will add that, let's say div. And here I will add that pencil. Let me import this pencil from Lucid React. Save this. Let's see how it displays. You can see this is displaying. Let's see if there is any edit icon. Yes, edit icon is there. Yeah, this is better. So this is similar to what we see here. Let's style this. So we'll add class equal to padding y2. And you can also give class here. Color equal to, let's say, gray. Let's add it class here itself. So you can see. And let's add size also. Size equal to 20. This does not work. Let's bring that back. Padding y2, color gray. Yes, this is looking good. Let's add class name of cursor pointer. Yeah, this looks good. Now for delete also we need to add. So let's copy this, add it here. So there is a trash icon. So you can see trash is there. And color we give red. You can see this is looking correct. So let's use background BG red. Not BG red. Let's see trash 2 icon is also there. Yeah, this is better. So you can see this is exactly same. So trash or trash 2 you can use. So now we have this edit and delete buttons. Now we also need this search functionality. So when I search for doctor, you can see you get immediate result. So let's add this. So here, inside this, you can add one more div. Here I can add, this is some border. Let's add border here. And we have some icon here. So that is search icon. And we have input field. So let's use input type equal to text. Placeholder, search by any field. So let's see how it displays. Let's make it side by side using flex. Let's add some margin y3. Let's add some padding to search. Now let's remove the outline here. Class name equal to outline none. Yeah, now there is no outline. And let's decrease this width. So you can say max width and let's say small. Yeah, this looks better. Let's make this rounded. Here I can say rounded MD. Yeah, this looks better. Search by any field. Product. So here, let's add some margin. Padding left. Yeah, this looks better. Now, when I search here, I want to filter this out, but for that we need some more books. So let's copy this. Let's add one more book. Here, from here we can add. We'll add new section later to add it from the application. Author, publisher, and ISBN. Let's click on save. Now, if I go here, you can see it immediately reflects. So that's the power of React query. So once the backend data changes, so the data which is coming from API changes, and you focus on your application window, it automatically refetches that data. You don't see the loading. So this is good. So you don't have to wait until the data gets changed again. So this is how the React query library or TanStack query library refetches that data. So if you want to see, we can also install DevTools. So TanStack query by default has its own DevTools. So let's install that. So using this, you can see how the data is changing, what data is coming, when it will change, all these things. So this is really useful to track what different things you are using in your React application. Now, once it installed, to configure, we need to use this React Query DevTools. So anywhere inside the query client provider, I will add it here. You can add this. Initial is open for, so initially it will not be open. So if you refresh, on the bottom right corner, you will see some icon added. You can see there is a new icon. You can click on this. You can see this is a new DevTool. So it identifies, it tells you what are the different queries or mutation you are using. So this is mutation and this is query. So this is a books query that we have created. So inside the dashboard, we have named the query. So let me minimize this. So the query name we have given is books. So using that, you can see we have data. So data explorer. So we have 2 books available. You can see all the information here also. If I want to refresh that data, I can execute invalidate. So it will refill that. So once you fill that data, you can see it's in stale state. So it immediately indicates that it's older, old data. Now, whenever you focus again, it will again refill that data and see if there is any change. So if I change anything, so let's say here I will change cat hats, I will change. So now if I focus again, you can see it has again refilled that data and it's again back. So it again refetches that data and it again marks as stale. So if you can also configure that inside the app, wherever we are using query client, you can also provide some options, default options. Here you can say queries and you can provide stale time. Let's say 10 seconds. So 10 into 1000, so 1000 milliseconds. So this is 10, so it will be 10,000 milliseconds. So you need to specify time in milliseconds. So if I refresh now, you can see it's not stale, it's fresh. So for the 10 seconds, it will remain fresh. And after 10 seconds, it will again try to refresh that data. So you can see now after 10 seconds, it's stale. So again, if I go to any tab and come back, it will again refresh that data. You can see now it's again fresh. So it tries to refresh that. If you don't want to refresh that on every window focus, you can turn that off. There is option refresh on window focus. You can make it false. So by default, it's true, which is good thing. You should always have it true. But if for some reason you want to disable, you can use this particular property. So this is globally. So for your entire application, wherever you are using use query, all this configuration will be used. I don't want to add any of these right now, so I will remove it. You can also add this individual query also. Here you can add stale time. You can see stale time. You can add it here also. You can also, there is also enabled flag, which will not make that API call initially. So if I say enable false, if I refresh, you can see it's in loading state. So it does not fetches that data because I'm saying don't fetch that data. I want to fetch that data on some event, like on button click, I want to fetch that. In that case, you can disable that first and then you can remake that API call to get that data. But this is by default enabled is true. So you will always, so whenever you use query on component load only, it will refresh that, which is the default field. Now we have this. So we have added search field. So I want to search here and this field data should be filtered. So for that, here you can pass one prop filter. You can see there is some quick filter text. So whenever I type, let's say I type here Julia. So you can see you get Julia. So it automatically filters only Julia. But I want to type here and I want to filter that. So for that, you need to store that input field, whatever you are changing. So let's declare a state here. A default value search term, set search term. It will be empty. Now, whenever I type anything on change, I will set that search term event.target.value. So whatever I'm typing. And that search term, I will use it here instead of Julia. So whenever I set search term, this search term will be updated and component will re-render because we are setting state. And again, this quick filter text will be passed and it will re-render that component. So now if I search for doctor, you can see it immediately filters. If I search for SEU, you can see it immediately filters. So you correctly update that information. Here you can also make that color, let's say gray. So it will not be too much dark. Yeah, this is better. So it matches something with this. Search by any field. Now I can filter by any field, not just author or name. So if I search for, you can see you get only one publisher, one book with that matching text. So no matter how many records you have, you will be able to easily filter out. I can filter by 800. You can see it filter by the ISBN. So this is how you can add a filtering. There is also pagination, default pagination.